तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। वंदे गुरुर मंडलम। Shivoham. Welcome to the series of talks on Shiva Swarodaya. Shiva Swarodaya is an ancient Tantric text. It is in the form of dialogue between Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati. The benefits of this ancient science are not limited to spiritual growth, but can also present the sadhak with immense material pleasures too. However, unlike the popular belief that Swar Yog requires no labor, only strict discipline in practices juxtaposed with dedication and patience ensures success in all endeavours of a Swar Yogi. So far, we have discussed 69 verses of this text, covering many important topics. Therefore, if you are watching this as one of your first video here, I request you to watch related videos from the beginning for better understanding. The link to the playlist is provided in the description box for your easy access. Let's take the next verse now, that is 70th verse. Prathamam vahate vayur dityam cha tatha analah. Trityam vahate bhumish chaturtham varuno vahet. It means first air element gets active, next fire is active, third is earth, and then water gets active during the flow of the swar. I will also include the next verse here, which is the 71st verse. It states, Sa ardya dvighatike pancha kramenaiva vudyanti cha Kramade kaikanadyam cha tattvanam pritgudbhavah. It means during the 2.5 ghatis, the elements arise in this order. The elements arise separately in both the nadis. In these verses, we understand the order in which elements arise in the swar. All the elements arise in both left and right swar. By now, you understand that the ideal time for each swar is 1 hour. Every hour the swar changes from left to right or right to left. When this change is taking place, for a brief moment of time, the Akash Tattva or space element is active. Then, Vayu Tattva or air element gets active. Then, Agni Tattva or fire element, then Prithvi Tattva or earth element, and then Jal Tattva or water element gets active. During the whole 1 hour, all the elements are active in this order. Now the question comes, for how much time each element is active? So you should know that every element is active for a particular amount of time. Air element is active for 8 minutes, fire element for 12 minutes, earth element for 20 minutes, and water element for 16 minutes. The space element that is active during the crossover of the swar is active for nearly 4 minutes. So it is whole 60 minutes, 8 plus 12 plus 20 minutes plus 16 minutes plus 4 minutes. In the verse, Akash Tattva is not mentioned, as it does not arise in either of the nadis. Akash Tattva is said to arise in Sushumna, but one should understand that this rising of the elements in this order and for this particular amount of time is a very ideal situation. One may at once be able to bring some balance in the flow of nadis. But bringing balance in the rising of elements is a tough task. It requires rigorous, dedicated practice, and this is not all. During the flow of each element, all the 5 elements further arise within it. This is a very subtle rising of elements that is taking place within us. I used this term element in element. It may not have been very clear, as promised in the beginning, that every subtle theoretical point mentioned in the scripture, I shall try to make it clear. I will use an example to clarify. Suppose air element has become dominant in sun. Now in this duration of air element, all other 4 elements shall flow for some brief time. So first air arises in air, then fire arises in fire. Further, earth arises within air, and then water arises in air. Hope it is clear now. You will see that in further verses, the scripture gives out ways on how one can deduce the rising of the elements. I must tell you that even this first level of tattva element rising in itself is quite cumbersome to comprehend. Only if you are sincere and completely dedicated to Swar Yog, follow the cleansing, balancing and synchronizing practices, only then you can understand the flow of the elements within you. Further, there are no instructions whatsoever to be found throughout the scripture that a person can use to understand the rising of elements within the element. This secret knowledge of tattva in tattva is given to the select disciples of very high caliber by the Guru, because this means complete mastery over the elements, which is lots of power and responsibility to handle. You may ask, how much power? I shall quote Shiv Sutra here to put my point across. If you are interested, then you can find out its meaning. Shiv Sutra in its Shambhav Upay, Sutra number 16, says, Shuddha Tattva Anusandhanandva Apashu Shaktihi. Find out the meaning of this. Hope you like to do your homework. That's all for today. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow down to the divine sitting in your hearts. Shivoham.